Hi guys! So today I'm gonna talk about everything that I read in the second half of October. So if you have not seen it, earlier this month I did a October wrap-up part 1. Yeah, I'm gonna link that part 1 in the description and in the info card if you haven't seen it. But today I'm gonna talk about everything that I read in the second half. I read 3 audiobooks and 2 novels, and I'm just gonna get into it so that the second part is not gonna be as long as the first part. That was embarrassing. Let's get into it. So first I listened to Don't You Cry by Mary Kubica. I think many people call this a thriller. For me, this was mostly a mystery because I don't really think that many aspects of it were very thrilling, but there were lots of aspects that were like super mysterious, and I did not know what was going on for a lot of the book. But I have to say, as far as books in this kind of genre go, this has got to be one of my favorites actually. I just thought that the overall reading experience was super enjoyable. There are 2 point of views and they don't seem to be connected at all. Obviously, if you go into this, you know that at some point they will be connected, but it took me a really long time to figure out where and how they would be connected. Really only shortly before everything kind of got revealed, I figured out what was going on, and so I really enjoyed that because that is definitely something that makes this book enjoyable. I was definitely confused for a big chunk of it, but it wasn't like an uncomfortable confused, not like an I don't know what's going on and I want to know what's going on, but more of a okay, I'm very confused and I absolutely cannot imagine where any of this is gonna go. And I feel like that's kind of the feeling that you have to have when you're reading a good mystery. And so yeah, I just really ended up enjoying it. Then I listened to the audiobook of Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I honestly don't even know what to say about it because I don't think I got this book. So many people love this book and so many people find this book like so great and so important, and I did not get it. I didn't even find it very enjoyable. You know, sometimes you just find books enjoyable and you don't get the big message out of it, but you're like, oh yeah, that was a fine read. I didn't even have that. I couldn't really find any of the characters interesting. I thought that the storytelling and everything was all over the place. Did not get that at all. I didn't get the structure of the novel and how it was done. I didn't get it. I wouldn't say like, don't read this book, it's confusing and shit. It's just that I did not understand what was going on, and I don't know what I read and why everybody loves it. Not to say that you are wrong if you loved it, it's just that I felt like I read a completely different book. I don't know what happened. I gave Station 11 2 out of 5 stars. Well, at least now I read it, you know, I did the thing, now I can ignore it. And then I listened to Only Daughter by Anna Snoekstra. That's probably not at all how you pronounce the name. Another thriller / mystery that I read this month. I kind of really got into them, and there's just a lot of them available as audiobooks on Overdrive. And you know, if I don't actually have to pick up physical copies where I prioritize, you know, fantasy or even like romantic contemporaries, then I do really enjoy listening to them, you know, because they don't take up the time that I would use for these other books, but it's just like, oh yeah, I just listened to this audiobook while doing other stuff. Anyway, well, I enjoyed it. Let's just get it out of the way. Like, I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which is kind of my usual rating for a book in this kind of genre that I enjoy. In this case, I just felt like it's kind of hard to put it in a genre because once again, it doesn't really feel like a thriller, but also it's not really a mystery. This story is about a girl who is caught stealing something from a shop, and to kind of save herself from the situation, she just tells the police she's this girl that went missing 12 years ago and that she is back. She figured out a couple of weeks ago that she looks very similar to this girl, and she just wants to use it as an escape from the police, but then she realizes that she could really benefit from this if she could actually like make everybody believe that she's this girl. And so she ends up, you know, actually meeting the parents and everything and the family and friends. And so really this whole story is mostly about her trying to fit in and trying to like make everybody believe that she's actually this girl that went missing, and it includes a little bit, you know, of obviously the police trying to find out what actually happened 12 years ago and stuff like that. And in the synopsis, it already says that, you know, the friends and family are not who she thinks they are. And so throughout the whole book, you're kind of trying to figure out, okay, what is happening and why does nobody realize that she is not this girl? And so I just thought that for it to be an actual mystery, the main character would have had to do a little bit more digging. I thought that she would really, throughout the novel, try to figure out who actually abducted this actual girl all these years ago, but I felt like that element kind of fell flat. I really think that the main story was just this girl trying to fit in and just trying to, you know, make the police stop investigating so that she could just live a normal life in this new family. But as a reader, obviously you're constantly thinking about, okay, is this person suspicious? Is this person suspicious? Does this have anything to do with the actual abducting? Whatever. So I just felt like, you know, there were not enough elements of this for this to be a thriller or a mystery. And there is a little bit of a thriller aspect at the end of it, but I just don't think that it was enough in the book for me to actually say this is a thriller. I was kind of expecting that immediately when she would meet this family, they would act like they would accept her as a daughter in front of the police, and then as soon as, you know, doors were closing, they would like abuse her or something because they were just weird. But that was not what it was. That just confused me. I was just like, okay, where is the actual like thriller mystery element to it? Because yeah, I just think that these elements fell a little bit flat, but I still thought it was an enjoyable read. And I do think that constantly not knowing, you know, who would actually be suspicious is definitely something that makes this novel very enjoyable as well. Once again, took me very long to actually figure out what was going on. That was definitely what made it enjoyable for me. I just wish that the main character would have done more digging and that, you know, there would have been more clues to what actually happened that we could have figured out with the main character. If that makes any sense. I rambled more about this book than I wanted to. As I said, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then I finally read The Beauty of Darkness by Mary E. Pearson. Now, this has been a long time coming. I read, I don't even know. Earlier this year, I read the first and second book. Finally did it. I was intimidated by the size of it, and it just didn't really fit into my life where I wanted this to fit, but I finally did it. I finally read it. I actually read it on my holiday. As I said in my TBR, I was so proud of myself and so happy that I actually had enough time between all of the sightseeing and everything and between napping and eating. But yeah, so I read this. I enjoyed it so, oh my god, I'm getting like emotional because I was so happy with this whole book and this whole ending. So if you've kind of followed my journey with this trilogy, I really enjoyed the first book. I didn't think it was anything special, but I did kind of enjoy it for its simplicity. You know, it had a lot of potential. The storytelling was really great. And then I was a little bit disappointed with the second one. I just think that in the second one, lots of things that I enjoyed about the first one kind of were gone. So it didn't really help me picking up this big ass book. But when I finally picked up this book, I was into it pretty quickly. I just really liked it. Like, so many of the things that I enjoyed about the first book were back. I realized again why I love the main character Leah so much. I think she is a really great female YA main character. I think that the development with the love interest that is not the love interest that Leah chose was really well done, because in the second book I really was scared for this character because I felt like Mary Pearson was going in a direction where she made this character be almost emotionally abusive towards Leah. He was starting to get a little bit obsessive and almost stalkery, and because that was actually the love interest that I rooted for, I was really upset that Mary Pearson was going into that direction. But she ended up really making this character so much more interesting, and so just that character development was amazing in my personal opinion. I think that, you know, the friendship that the main character and this character developed in this book was so good, so wonderful. I am just so happy about that because, like, even though I ended up not, you know, rooting for him as a love interest anymore, I think he might be my favorite character from the trilogy, and I'm just so glad that, you know, Mary E. Pearson didn't ruin that for me, but that she ended up, you know, making this character even better and making such a big development. On the other hand, I felt like the actual love interest that, you know, Leah kind of decided to be with did some questionable things in the beginning. I think everything turned around, and I think the way that their relationship developed and the way that they kind of, well, went through things together. I don't want to go into detail, but, you know, the things that happened, I think, were overall well done. But in the beginning I was a little bit like, okay, you need to chill out, bro. And it was actually interesting how, you know, I thought in the second book that one guy was doing questionable things, and then all of a sudden the other guy was doing questionable things, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait, so maybe the love triangle is still alive and something else is gonna happen? It didn't, but like, yeah, just this book kept me at the edge of my seat, and I thought it was really easy to go through. I thought it was so great to have all of these different perspectives that we had. I'm just so happy. I think the ending was amazing. I think the whole like war aspect of it, and I thought some of the political stuff going on, and it was just really, really well done. I'm just so happy with this book. I actually have to say, while, you know, it doesn't come anywhere close, this book was kind of the book that reminded me the most of the Graceling Realm trilogy, and I think that was kind of what I initially hoped going into this trilogy. You know, I thought that, you know, this trilogy would be similar, and I think that this final book reminded me most of it. I think especially of Bitter Blue because of the kind of political stuff. But yeah, just fucking loved it. Like, I almost gave it 5 stars, but I'm just not invested enough in the overall trilogy to give this final book 5 stars. But it is a very, very strong 4 stars, and I'm just so happy, especially because many people didn't like this last book as much, and for me it's definitely my favorite. Like, I also gave The Kiss of Deception 4 stars, so they have the same rating, but I thought this one was even better and definitely my favorite from the trilogy, and I'm just so happy because the ending was so good, and I'm happy. Okay, I'm very, very happy, and I know some of you are happy too because you've been telling me to read this for so long, and you've been telling me how easy it would be to get through it and that it's really good, and so thank you for encouraging me again and again. Every time I mention it, I ended up loving it, and I'm happy, and I hope you're happy too. And then finally this month, I finally read That Inevitable Victorian Thing by E.K. Johnston. It took me forever to read this, but that wasn't the book's fault. It was just because I started it. I think I actually started it before I started Grave Mercy, and then I got obsessed with that trilogy. And then I had my exams, and then I started it again, but then I was on holiday where I really wanted to read the whole of Beauty of Darkness. So then I kind of put it down again, and finally I finished it. And I really, really enjoyed this. I definitely think that most of my expectations that I had for this book were met. I received an arc of this through Edelweiss, and I do hope to put up a video review of this. No promises, but you know, I should be doing reviews for these books, so I definitely want to do it because I do feel like I have enough thoughts to kind of talk about it, and I just want to make a video on it because I feel like this book is slightly underrated. I feel like it was on a lot of people's radars, but then it doesn't really get talked about anymore, even though it came out at the beginning of October. Now, definitely this book is not flawless in any way, and I think that the general world building in this book is definitely something that is a little bit complicated as far as, is it actually good representation and is it actually good diversity, because it deals with an alternative history. Basically, E.K. Johnston has just created this world that doesn't erase all of like Victorian England history, but makes a lot of it just better. And I'm sure that lots of people who live in countries that have like history of colonization, is that a word? You know what I'm saying, that they will have some issues with it, and I get where they're coming from, but for me, I think that E.K. Johnston was able to really have this good mix between, yeah, as I said, like, it's not erasing history, it's just making some of it a little bit better, and I just thought that it was able to really celebrate diversity, and I thought it was well done. But I can understand that some people might not think that way because, you know, normally diversity is not just being like, everybody is accepted now, we forget that there have ever been any problems ever. I get that people have problems with that, but I think it was well done, and it kind of just really hit the kind of fiction that I like, which is fiction that just makes everything better, and that kind of talks about how this world could look like. And I just like that. I like looking at this kind of world, and so I ended up just being really happy about this. But also I just feel like, you know, the world building, while it is an important part of the novel, is not the focus of the novel, and there is even an author's note at the end of it that kind of talks about all of this. But I just thought, you know, the characters were the focus of the novel, and that was definitely my favorite aspect, and the aspect that I just thought was really, really well done. It's just a really beautiful story. I thought it was a really, really beautiful story of friendship, family, romantic love, all of it. I loved every single character. I loved the 3 main characters. I loved so many of the side characters. I just thought it was a really beautiful novel, and I thought that it was really well written, and I can see myself returning to it time and time and again when I need a comfort read. And so I ended up just really loving it. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I did give it a 4 stars on Goodreads because it was very, very close to 4 stars for me. And the ending made me happy. It made me so happy. I was not expecting it at all, but it was really, really beautiful. Yeah, I finished this just a couple of hours ago, and I'm so happy. I thought it was a really, really nice book, and it was beautiful. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, and I hope I can do like a review of it where I go into a little bit more detail. So yeah, that was everything that I read in the second half of October. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you plan on reading them, and let me know what your favorite book that you read in October was. And thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon. Bye!